Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of Tabletop Weekly. This is a heavily requested video following on from, if you haven't seen it yet, my 3 Men Go LARPing video. I suggest you go and watch that first because otherwise this might not make a lot of sense. But so many of you responded to that video with questions or asking for advice about going to Empire LARP by Profound Decisions. Profound Decisions themselves have been absolutely swamped with questions from new players asking about how to get involved and everything else. And I wanted to just jump on and do a quick video going over some of those most common questions that you guys had, but also giving some general tips about going to Empire for your first time as well. Want to say, first things first, sadly I could not be joined by my good friends Chris Trott and Alex Smith. I don't know why I looked as if they're actually here. No, sadly Chris and Alex or Trott and Smith are still recovering from MCM Expo, which was a fantastic time, by the way. They are still recovering, so they couldn't join me, and I wanted to get this video out before I go to Seattle. After the next event, after E2, we will do another video which kind of recaps the events of that and maybe answers some of these questions again, but I just wanted to let you know about that. Also, before I get going on the tips, I want to give a big thank you shout out to Scarlett, Beth, Jack, and Liz, and the rest of the Shattered Tower, which is a high guard group at Empire and good friends of mine. They gave lots of great advice. They actually compiled a little document to me of advice and general tips for first time going, things that they wish they had known before they started coming to LARP. So a big thank you to everybody who contributed to that. Also, I want to point out, if you'd like another video which kind of goes over how to get into LARP or, what you should expect from your first LARP, I'm going to put a link to Holly's video, which is all about that. You'll find it in the video description below. It's really beautifully done animation. It's very funny as well, so go and check that out. And that's perfect if you're a brand new player to Profound Decisions Empire as well. But enough of that. I'm going to crack on with my general, answering some questions and some general tips as well. One more thing before we get started with the Q&A, and that is I just want to make a little bit of an announcement, and I hope that this doesn't come across as too mean. Before you come to Empire, whether you've bought a ticket using my referral code, thank you very much to those who did, whether you've bought a ticket or not, or whether you're considering about it, there's just a couple of things I want to go over. And the big one for this is, please don't come to Empire if you think that it means you can hang out with Trott, Smith and I. I don't know if that sounds a bit egotistical, but this is our hobby, it's our holiday, it's not a convention or a signing session. We want to go, we want to relax, we want to hang out with our friends, and whilst we're more than happy to roleplay, to catch up with you, in the out of character area and kind of say hi and chat a little bit about YouTube and stuff, out of character, in the field, we are going to be role-playing our characters, and we want to enjoy the event as much. And I'm sure all of you who are watching this will be respectful of that, but I would kick myself if I didn't put this little PSA out there. Also, if you're going to Empire, I want you to go for the right reasons. I want you to go because you want to go and experience this cool event, make your own fun, meet new people, and get a chance to do some awesome role-playing. So please, if you're thinking of coming or if you've bought a ticket to come, please be respectful of the fact that me and the guys are going to be role-playing. We're there to relax and enjoy our holiday. Also, make sure you enjoy the event for what it is. Don't spend it following us around or, trying to hang out with us. Go out there, meet new people, meet other cool role players, because there is some fantastic people at Empire, and I'd hate for you to miss out on meeting them and hanging out with them and having cool RP and cool adventures because you were looking for us all the time. So I hope that doesn't come across as too mean or too egotistical. I hope that people can be respectful of that. That's it. That's the only little PSA I wanted to do on that. Let's get on with some questions. So one of the big questions I kept getting asked in the comments of the last video was, how much is Empire LARP? Now, that is a kind of a pretty broad question because it's going to cover a number of things. The ticket for the weekend is £65 if you book early, or maybe £60 early, £65 if you book it late. It's around that region. Now, you can get £15 off by using a referral code. I will throw mine in the video description below if you'd like to use it, and it applies to your first event. It also gives me £15 credit, which is very, very nice, and a very big thank you to everybody who's already done that. So that's your ticket. What does that cover? That gives you entry to the event, it pays for your player pack, but it also funds all the other big things at Empire. So you're looking at things like the monster prosthetics, the cool materials and coins that you get in your starter pack, hire of the site, improvements to the costume for the NPCs, and just general running things as well. This is this is a business. It's run by a guy called Matthew Pennington and his team. They need to be paid because they put in immense amounts of work and effort into that. So that's what your £65 gets you. That is what you get entry to the event. It's Friday evening, Saturday and Sunday morning. Friday evening time in, which is when you're allowed to start, is 6 p.m. And it goes till 2 a.m. And then it's all day Saturday from I think 9 a.m. or 10 a.m. all the way to 2 a.m. And then Sunday, it again starts the same thing, about 10 a.m. or 9 a.m. till about 4 p.m., which is when it's kind of the whole event shuts down. So that gives you entry to the event and it pays for all those things. On top of that, you are going to need money for food, things like costume and equipment, weapons, things like camping equipment. These are all things to consider. LARPing is not a cheap hobby. You can do it pretty cheaply, but there are costs that you need to think about there, so just keep that in mind. Another big question is, how old do you have to be? Any age can attend Empire, but if you're under 16, 18, I need to 100% confirm, but I think it's under 16, you need to have a parent, or I think it's under 18, sorry, you need to have a parent or guardian at the event. 16 to 18-year-olds are considered to be full characters, which means you can go into the battles, it is expected that you will roleplay seriously, that you will treat yourself as an adult, and you will roleplay within the world of Anvil. Under 16-year-olds will not be considered full citizens of Empire. What this means is they're a little bit restricted. You can't go on the big battles. You can engage with roleplaying, but it's kind of expected that you'll have some downtime here and there. And they also have access to something called the Academy, which is kind of like a LARP school. It teaches you all about the world. It's pretty fun, especially if you're a parent and you've got young kids and you like to bring them along. The Academy is perfect for that. So just keep that in mind. If you're under 16, you're going to need, under 18, you're going to need parents and guardians. And if you're under 16, obviously you're going to need to, you're not going to be able to go on the battlefields and things like that. I would heartily recommend you check out all the kind of Age and Protection Act stuff, which is all on the wiki. That's going to be something I keep saying in this video. The Empire wiki is an incredible tool. It is quite a lot of information to absorb at once, but it's got a great search function. Go in there, search for the thing you're looking for, you'll find a page for it, and then just read through that. I'm going to keep referring you to the wiki because it is a very, very useful tool. So there you go, that's about ages. Next big question I get asked a lot is, can you go on your own or do you have to go in a group? You absolutely can go on your own. I've known a few people that have gone solo and joined a group via Facebook or joined a group via the forums and made loads of new friends and had a great time. There have been people that have done that. However, I personally, and this is a pure personal opinion, would highly, highly recommend you go with a group of friends. That's what I did. I went with 2 friends. We formed our own little group. We ended up meeting people. We ended up making friends with them, hanging out with them, all of that good stuff. And it just means you get to create a little bit of story. You have a reason to kind of be there. You've got goals, you've got objectives. You can do things like, we're all going to be wizards and we're going to do this together, or we're all going to be priests, or we all want to pool our money and try and get into the economy game and things like that. It allows you to do so much more, and worst case scenario, it gives you a cool bunch of people to go and hang out with around a campfire, even if you're a little bit shy. So if you aren't very good at going up to people cold approach, I'm certainly not. I'm not particularly great at that. It gives you a bunch of people that you can go hang with, or help give you that confidence to go and approach new people. So I would personally really recommend you go with a group. But if you do want to go on your own, my advice is check out the nation that you want to join, find their Facebook page, join it, and ask if there's any groups accepting new members. One thing I'm going to say on this, and again, I hope I don't come across too mean, my group and the group that Smith and Trot are with, Ashenhall, we are not accepting new members. I don't think you can, but if you can, please don't set yourself as a member of Ashenhall in the character creation if you make a character. We're a close group of friends. We've got a very specific story about us. You're more than happy to come and have a drink at our tent and all that kind of good stuff, or come and have a chat with us, but we're not accepting new members right now. It's kind of a close friends or personal recommendations kind of thing. And yeah, we just want to keep it as our story and our RP based around what we want at the moment. So we're not opening ourselves up to tons of new players. But there are lots of groups out there who will absolutely welcome you with open arms. They're lovely people. Great way to get into Empire. Next question, how do you actually make a character at Empire? I probably can't go through the whole process right now, but the way it works is when you go to the Empire website, there is an option to create a character once you have an account, and it's almost like a video game. You go through, you pick a certain number of things, you pick which of the nations you'd like to be, then you select a number of skills. You have 8 points. Each skill costs a different amount of points, and as you go to more events, you'll gain XP that you can then spend on more skills. The wiki has all the skills, what they mean, how they break down, and it explains it all. On the character creator, you can even click a little button and it will take you to the relevant wiki page. After you pick your skills, you'll also be able to choose a resource and any additional details, like if you took mage, an extra spell, you can pick your spells. If you took ritualist, you can pick your rituals. If you took artisan, you can choose crafting recipes. Your resource, however, will affect what you get in your pack at the start of the game. So if you take business or farm, for example, you'll get given just more in-game money to represent, your profits from that business or farm. If you take forest or mine, you'll get given crafting materials. If you take things like military units, you can support armies. Things like that. Again, read the wiki page because each resource is a little bit different and has different things. There are rituals in the game that can bolster resources. There may be events, like special events that have effects on your resources as well. There's no real way to power game it. Choose what makes sense for your character. After you've chosen all your resource and any extra stuff, then it's a lot of background filling out. You get to pick what kind of archetype you are. You get to say whether you're part of a coven or whether you're part of a banner. Don't worry too much about these things. It's really not a problem. And then you fill out the rest of the character details. One thing I'm going to say is you do not need to spend any of those 8 points on skills when you make your character. You can go to Empire with a character who has 8 skill points still to spend and not a single skill. The reason for this is it's good to do this because as a first-time player, you don't know what parts of the game you're going to enjoy. You might go along, and if you've picked mage and you've taken all this mage stuff, but you hate the way that the magic works in the game, or you don't like rituals, or you're a bit embarrassed to do the magic stuff, you've kind of wasted your points. So don't spend your skills. Luckily, if you do, and you do end up finding something that you don't like, email Profound Decisions after the event, explain to them it was your first event, and they are normally they are more than happy to do a skill reset and kind of just let you pick again. Especially for first-time players, they totally understand that you might not have all these expectations of the game, etc. So that's a couple of things to keep in mind when making your character. Read through the wiki, have a good understanding of how the skills work, how magic works, how healing works, and just go along and try a few things out. Go and ask experienced players in character, in the field. Want to know more about magic? Go and find a cool mage who can tell you how magic works. Want to know how about the priest and religious skills work? Go and find a priest and ask them. They'll be more than happy to explain it, and you're kind of giving game for them as well. It's really fun. Loads of RPers absolutely love it. Another question I get asked quite frequently in the comments and on Twitter is there an Empire in Los Angeles? Is there an Empire in Ireland? Or is there a LARP near me? I'm afraid I don't know. Our Empire is very specific to the UK, and it takes place in Silverstone, or near Silverstone Racecourse. I believe it's called Dadford Campsite or something like that. That all takes place there. It doesn't run around the rest of the country as far as I'm aware. I'm pretty sure it doesn't. And as for overseas or local LARPs or anything like that, your best bet is Google it, because I'm afraid I don't know. You might be able to find some groups on Facebook and things like that that might be able to point you in the right direction. There are big UK LARP Facebook groups and things like that, or I'm sure there's ones for the US as well. But you're going to have to do some research, I'm afraid. But from what I can see, there are big LARPs, festival LARPs like Empire, across the globe, especially in Europe. They love it in Europe, and in America as well. There's some absolutely huge ones. Go and see if you can find them. Check them out. It's really worth giving a go. If you love D&D, if you love acting, if you love all that kind of stuff, definitely something to give a go at least once. Something else a lot of people mention, can you vlog it? Can you film the video? Can you show us some GoPro footage next time? The answer to that is no. Profound Decisions has a pretty strict no filming policy, and it's one I happen to personally agree with. Why? Well, this is just a personal opinion, but I know that quite a few people at Profound Decisions echo it. LARP doesn't look very good on camera. The problem is when you film something on camera, you're removing yourself from the immersion, the adrenaline of the battles. Suddenly, it's just a bunch of people hitting each other with foam swords. It's not, your friend's just gone down and there's orcs swarming towards them and you gotta fight your way to them to fend them off, otherwise they're gonna die. It is a bunch of blokes yelling, shouting and screaming and hitting each other with fake foam swords. So it tends to look a bit rubbish. Likewise, on the other side of things is there are big privacy concerns. LARP is a very personal hobby. Not everybody wants pictures of them dressed up as an elf being plastered all over Facebook or on social media. Not everybody wants footage of them as a tyrannical warlord stomping around murdering innocents going out on Facebook and YouTube. People can be politicians, they can work in the military, they can work in the intelligence services. This is their downtime, so there's no filming allowed. What is allowed is professional photography. The photographers all work as a really solid team, and they make sure to take down any photos upon request. They also tend to know who does and doesn't like having their picture taken and adjust appropriately. We're quite lucky. A lot of the photographers know that we're more than happy to appear in photos, especially my friend Beth, who contributed a lot of photos to the last video, so we're quite lucky to get in a lot of those. But yeah, there's no filming allowed. We can't film it. I wouldn't want to film it because I do feel it's a little bit invasive of people's private time. And like I said at the beginning, it's just about being respectful. People want to be in character. They don't want to be being interviewed for a vlog. Oh, look at me, I'm fighting elves, that kind of thing. So that's why, sorry about that. I know quite a lot of you wanted to see some stuff in action. You're just going to have to use your imagination. Right, let's talk some general tips now because a load of other stuff came in. Let's talk about weapons, armor, and costume first of all. First things first, weapons. I'm putting my remote for the camera down. They are these kind of foam latex swords. In terms of pricing and things like that, weapons can vary between £30 for a basic sword to hundreds, 200s, 300 plus. For some ornate, handmade, two-handed flamberge or something like that. They completely vary. You can do it cheap. I think I paid £30 for these little short swords. They're not the longest. They're pretty light, but I like them because I fight with two hand weapons. So I prefer having two light blades, just because it's easier on my arms because I'm weak. But yeah, I paid about £30 for mine, maybe 35-ish or something like that. So you don't need to have them. A lot of people might have spares, but if you do want to go into battle, you are pretty much going to need some weapons and armor. Speaking of armor, again, you get different types. You can spend 20 quid for a pair of really cheap leather greaves. I was very kind to be gifted these by a friend, by Kit Bus, no doubt. And these might be like 50, 60 quid to get something a bit more sort of fancy. You might pay 60 quid for a chainmail shirt from an online retailer, or you could spend £200 on like an intricate leather cuirass or something like that. It really does depend. Where do you buy all this stuff? Because I know that's the next question you're going to ask. There are a bunch of retailers online. I will put a link to a bunch of them in the video description, but my advice if you're coming to Empire is buy them on site. First things first, you get a feel for them. That's why I bought these, because I picked them up, I could feel the weight, and I was like, yeah, these feel quite nice. I'll take these swords. You can make sure it fits properly. They may even be able to help you make adjustments. A lot of like the leather workers will have punches for straps and can help shorten them and things like that for you as well. You do need to bring cash. Some of the vendors will take card, but it is highly recommended you bring cash as well. Costume wise, this is a pretty big one. Your costume must be in character. No jeans, no t-shirt, no trainers, none of that. The one exception is in terms of footwear. There's a general acceptance that things like modern walking boots or hiking boots are perfectly allowed, army boots, etc. Ankle down, you can get away with a lot as long as you're not wearing bright white trainers and things like that. Riding boots, Wellingtons, these are all absolutely fine. Mucking boots, that sort of thing, they're absolutely fine. In terms of costume, you can do it pretty cheaply. You can go to charity shops and find things that look appropriate. You can find things like quite thick knitted woolen jumpers that look like kind of wool tunics that you can get away with. I would suggest as a basic costume, start really simple. Get yourself a decent pair of fancy kind of trousers. I got this pair, it's just like an olive green and they've kind of got like little tie-up bits at the bottom. Those were maybe sort of 20, 30 quid if I remember. Get yourself a decent tunic. You can either go for a shirt one like this, which is one I've got, and I've just added my own little bit of leather thronging, kind of typical fancy shirt. I actually bought this off Amazon Prime, which was pretty good. Or you can go for a tunic, more of a Viking medieval style tunic. The main thing is you need to check what nation you're going to play. Each nation has a different look different costume rules, so check those out. I can only really talk from Wintermark because that's all I've played, but for example, if you wanted to be a member of the Brass Coast, you're going to have a very different basic requirement for your costume. Lots of silks, bright colours, that sort of thing. There's also one other thing with costumes and kit that I should mention is there are a number of different races, we'll call them races for easier understanding, called Lineage in Empire, that allow you to be slightly different humans. For example, my character Sigvald is a changeling, just bear with me. So my character Sigvald is a changeling, which means I have little antlers. I also have elven ears. I actually don't wear elven ears because my wig covers them up, and I kind of have slightly pointed ears anyway. These require prosthetics, extra costume stuff. Let me tell you from experience, it is fun having little RP hints because each lineage has their own sort of like RP brief. So for example, changelings are very vain and proud and very bold and courageous and things like that. We are born from the realm of summer and we're all very fickle. It's very fey, elven kind of thing. And that gives you some great stuff to roleplay with. However, you have to do things like wear a wig or wear prosthetics, and that can be a little bit uncomfortable. Have a read. If they do sound interesting, by all means play one. My advice for your first time, be a good old human. It's just much easier, it's a lot more comfortable, and it gives you a feel for it, and then you can come and play one of these weird buggers later on. I'll show you, go on. You can have this as a little treat. There we go. We call this the Tom Cruise wig in Ashen Hall. Yeah, there we go. Little tip, layering is a very good thing. If you want to build up your costume and get something bigger, you get a basic pair of trousers, you got your basic tunic, maybe you start adding things. A waistcoat over the top tied up with a belt. Add something like a little leather bracer to your arms to break up your arms in definition. Something like a little scarf, like I got this was a pretty modern looking scarf, but it actually works quite well in a LARP. It's kind of like a ragged thing you can tie around, you can put it around your waist as a sash, all sorts of things like that. The other thing you need to consider with costume is it's going to be hot and cold at some point. English weather is notoriously bad. It can be raining, it can be bright sunshine, you can get sunburn, you can get pneumonia. It's a nightmare. So you want to make sure you've got something warm to wrap yourself up in if it's cold, but also make sure you can take off a few layers to help yourself cool down. Nobody likes getting dehydrated, and the John Ambulance people will probably laugh at you a little bit as well, because you're being a bit silly, aren't you? I'm just going through my notes here. Likewise, costume-wise, I'll put some links in the video description below on places that you can go. You can get patterns from fabric stores and things like that. If you do want to try and make your own, it is pretty tricky. I don't recommend it for a first time. Just go out and buy stuff if you can. The way armor works in Empire, I'm not going to go into the full rules. Again, you should really be reading the wiki, but you must have armor that covers your torso and at least 2 other locations. So for example, if you've got leather chest piece, leather helmet, and leather shoulders, that would count. That would give you torso, the basic one you have to cover, head, which is one location, and shoulders, which is another location. Things like greaves, these only count as half your arms. So if I were to wear 2 leather greaves, that would count as one location because that's half one arm, half another arm. If I were then to wear leather greaves on my legs, sorry, those are braces, leather greaves on my legs that covered my shins, they would count as half a leg each, so that would actually give me 2 other locations. So you got to keep that in mind. Do check the Wikipedia, do check the Empire wiki page because it has a full breakdown on how all of that works. Let's talk about camping. You have to camp, well, you don't have to camp at Empire. You might be able to find a B&B nearby and take a taxi and back and forth. A lot of people, however, choose to camp. Be sensible with this, please. Don't take a crappy indoor camping tent. It's gonna blow down or get knocked down or leak and you're gonna be thoroughly miserable. Put a little money in, get a decent camping tent. If you have a modern camping tent, you will have to camp in the out of character area. If you have an in character looking tent, something like a bell tent or an army, a scout's tent or something like that, as long as it looks appropriate, as long as it isn't too modern, you can actually sleep in character, but you will need to make sure that your tent and the inside of it isn't immersion breaking, so you don't want to see things like metal camp chairs, metal beds, try and cover them up with things. Nobody wants to see, rucksacks all over the place. Try and make sure everything is looking as in character as it possibly can. Other thing, practice putting your tent up before you go. Make sure you know how it works. Bring extra pegs, take a hammer. Trust me, we've forgotten these things before and it is an absolute nightmare. Get yourself a camp mat or a folding bed. Get yourself off the ground. It gets very, very cold at night. You're sure to be really uncomfortable. A thick camp mat or a blow-up air bed with a blanket, a nice thick blanket over the top, is nice and comfortable. I actually have I borrow Smith folding camp beds and they are amazing, especially if you're a little bit drunk. And they just get you off the ground. You put some nice thick blankets on it and you can sleep fairly comfortably. Toilet roll and baby wipes or makeup wipes are going to be your best friend. There are showers available at the campsite, but obviously they are camp showers. I know I personally won't ever step foot in them because I'm a hideous glamazon who just doesn't like showering in public in general. There are toilets as well, but again, these tend to be very busy. They do get a little smelly as well because there's a lot of people using them. Toilet roll and baby wipes, honestly, it's a very smart move. Bring lots of socks. That's another good one as well. You go through a lot of socks, especially if it's wet and muddy, so bring a lot of those. There is food in the out of character area. There is things like little takeaway stands that you can buy food from. There's a number of different options. There's even options for like gluten-free and vegetarian and stuff like that as well. You can get coffees. There is also something called the meal ticket. This is supplied by a company called Moorish. I think it's like 30 quid, 35 quid for the weekend, and you basically get 3 meals a day. You get breakfast, lunch, and dinner. As much coffee, tea, or squash, I think, as much as you would like. And you can go back a number of times a weekend. This is probably the most cost-effective way of doing it. I tend to splash out a bit and eat in the out-of-character areas or the super fancy in-character restaurants, but that's just because I'm a hideous snob and I like doing that. It just helps me feel a bit more in character, really. Bring cash. Whilst most of the vendors, things like the weapons and armor and costume people, will have card machines, the food places generally don't. So you want to bring cash with you. Sometimes you might hear cash, like real world money, referred to as barbarian money, and it just means real world money. So if anybody asks you, oh yeah, I'm selling this, but it costs barbarian money, just that means it's real world money, it's English money, pounds, and things like that. This is one I learned after my first event. Get yourself an in-character looking water container. It can be an in-character looking bottle with sort of like a leather holder, a water skin, anything like that, especially if you go out on the big battles. Fill it up, you get mega thirsty, the sun can be really hot because you're out in a field with no protection, you don't want to get dehydrated or or anything like that, so make sure you bring something to drink from. And the last one, and I'm sad Trot himself isn't here to talk about this, but be sensible around fire. If you've got things like flaming torches or a big fire pit, don't put highly flammable materials to it. Don't throw your mates into it. Generally, don't be stupid. Fire burns, fire bad. I'm sure most people will get that one. Battles and combat. First thing is, if you buy a weapon, you will need to get it combat checked. So you see this little elastic band at the end there? That means I took it to the weapons check tent where a bunch of people who know what they're doing will test, make sure your weapon is safe, that it hasn't got anything sharp or it's not broken, it's not going to come loose and slap somebody in the face, anything like that. Don't be an idiot and take things like metal weapons or cosplay weapons or things like that. Very, very bad decision. You're just going to get thrown out, basically. So don't do it. It's not worth it. When you're in battle, there's something called pulling blows. So when you actually strike somebody, you don't put all your force behind it. You kind of pull force back as you hit somebody. So you're kind of lightly tapping them. Obviously, some people in the heat of battle, in adrenaline, you might do something. You might hit somebody a bit harder than you intend to. Don't worry about it. It does happen. Just apologize, and it's all fine. People do understand. Even if they seem angry, they'll understand when they get out of, again, that kind of adrenaline headspace. But do your best to pull your blows, be sensible, and don't be a dick, basically. Don't be an asshole. You'll have a much better time with it. Yes, you can do archery. Loads of people were asking me about this. However, I don't recommend it for your first time. Archery is expensive. You have to buy special arrows with foam tips. They break quite easily. They get stood on, they get snapped. I think a friend of mine told me it averages that you lose up to 2 arrows per event. Sometimes you lose more, sometimes you lose less. They're about £9 each, so that cost is gonna rack up. Also, you have to be pretty good at it to be effective. So it's something you'd like to do. Go in there with the mindset you want to practice. Maybe ask people who are archers if you can have a go, if they can give you tips. But don't go out and invest loads of money in archery and arrows straight away. Yes, you can die. Rules for hit points and death are all on the wiki. It's not the end of the world. It sucks for some people, but it means you get to play something new. So yeah, that is something to be aware of. Also, be reasonable. Don't try and cheat. Don't, think that you can get away with taking 20 blows, or that you can get up if you've been killed and pretend that you had a potion or something like that. It doesn't work that way. This is a game about trust, and it's trusting that the people playing the monsters are going to be fair to you, and that you're going to be fair to the people playing the monsters. If there is anything if you don't understand something, or you feel unsafe, or you want something explained to you, or you see cheating happening, or people trying to steal stuff and things like that, go and report it to a referee. I mean stealing out of character stuff, not in character stuff. That's something you should take to the militia. If you see a referee, you can easily identify them. They wear yellow and black tabards. They're sometimes called bumblebees. And they will be wearing yellow and black tabards. They normally have radios, and they are there to help you. They might direct you to the God tent, which is the referee tent. This is normally located right by the out of character area, and you can go there, you can get questions, you can get help, lost property, all of that good stuff. It's a very, very useful thing to do. This is not Dungeons and Dragons. Do not expect an NPC to turn up and give you a quest. Empire is about going out and making your own fun. Going out there, making your own plot. Get to know people, speak to people, pursue goals, pursue ambitions. Don't just wander around looking for people that you might know. Don't expect plot to be given to you and fall in your lap. Go out there, do things, become a general, become a senator, doing a cool ritual that changes the face of the Empire. These are the things you should really be focusing on. And on that note, don't play the lone wanderer type. It's very boring. Like mercenaries, miserable anti-heroes. It's not fun. You might think it sounds cool and badass. It's not going to be. Do something which is social, which is group focused, and you'll have a much, much better time. You start small. Don't try and put in your initial character thing like, and he has vowed that he will become the emperor one day. That's a great goal. Don't expect that that's going to happen in like 2 or 3 events time. Try and start small, learn about the world, come to Anvil, ask questions, find out from people, do things, go out there, set yourself up for these big goals later, but come to learn and kind of take everything in and then formulate your plans. Trust me, you'll have a much better time. I had to go through 2 characters before I really realized what I enjoy doing at Anvil and Empire, and I wish I'd known first of all, otherwise I wouldn't have spent all my points and all my time. So definitely do that. This is a big one. There is a new player meeting that happens just before time in on the Friday at Empire. Please, please, please go to this. Claire and the new player team, very, very helpful. They will help you out immensely, answer any questions you have. They'll run through a bunch of stuff as well. Very, very, very useful tool. Make sure you do this as well. And finally, read the wiki. I know it's a lot of information. I know it's a ton of stuff, and you might be overwhelmed. Pick a single thing. Oh, religion sounds cool. Read the religion page. Oh, magic sounds cool. Read the magic page. You don't have to know everything about every nation. Focus on the nation that you're going to be, that you're interested in. It's really useful information. It will help you immensely. It is a bit daunting. I totally get that. But definitely try and read as much as you can. And if there's anything you don't understand, go to the new player meeting and ask it there. Or ask people in character about stuff, and they will happily explain it to you, I'm sure. That is pretty much it. That's all the things I wanted to cover. If you do have any more questions, I probably won't be able to answer them before the next event, but I will try and answer them with Trot and Smith when we do our retrospective. Leave them in the comments below. Like I said, if you're coming to Empire, please come for the right reasons. Come to enjoy this incredible role-playing experience. Don't try and use it as a chance to hang out with me, Trot and Smith, because we're going to be in character and we might just kill you or send you off or act like assholes because we're going to be in character. We're not going to be ourselves. We're going to be who we are at Anvil. So Grim would probably beat you to death, or Sigvald will try and get money, Bronn will try and get money off of you, and Sigvald's just going to brag about how amazing he is because that's me. I'm Sigvald. So that's it. Those are all the things I wanted to cover with you guys, just to give you a little bit of a heads up about Empire, answer some of your common questions, and hopefully help PD out, because I know they've been getting a lot of these. Once again, huge thank you to Scarlett, Liz, Jack, and Beth and all of the Shattered Tower in Highguard. Lovely group. If you're interested in Highguard, definitely go and see those guys. I love them to pieces. Big fan of the Shattered Tower. Thank you very much, guys, for giving me all your awesome tips. I had 4 pages of notes to go through there. Thanks once again. Thank you to Matt Pennington for kind of contacting me and showing support for my previous video. Everybody in the Empire community actually who shared that video and who enjoyed it, thank you guys so much for sharing it and promoting it and liking it. Hopefully this video is a help. Like I said, do check out Holly's video as well. Really great. I'm going to link it in the video description below, and I'll see if I can put a card to it as well. Go to the new player meet. That's really important. Read the wiki, and generally have a great time. Love Empire, love it to pieces. Looking forward to Event 2, and we will do another retrospective. Myself, Bron, and Grim, if we survive, will gather round to tell you great tales, and who knows, maybe we'll be able to get some other friends in to join us as well, and tell you all about the world of Empire. Thanks very much for watching, guys. Take care, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.